Hey there, today I'm going to do another arrowhead bracelet where I spin it around and make it symmetrical going to both ends. So this one's a bit different, this might be a little bit harder, but we'll get through it. Roll the intro. Hello and welcome, this is Kevin, also known as AKAAWOL, and today we're going to work with this pattern here, number 7883. It's an arrowhead, but it's a bit different from arrowheads I'm used to. So let's copy the design and paste it here. And we will rotate it 90 degrees, except for I want to rotate it upwards. There we go, rotate, and we need to enlarge that a bit. So this is an arrowhead, but it's unlike the arrowheads that I usually mess with. So you'll have to bear with me while I try to figure this out. Alright, there we go, and we will anchor the layer, and let's start with red. As you know me, I like to typically start my bracelets with red. Now, typically, what everybody teaches is you just kind of like draw an arrow through here and you start how you start. I like to start with a nice full-on arrow. So let's do this. All right, and then the next color is orange. We got one of those. And we just need a smaller square of the yellow, and we can work around it. Right, so the yellow does this, and then comes in 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Got it. All right, so this is a very different kind of an arrowhead, as I was saying. It just does this little diamond like that before going into the next one. And what I'm planning on doing here for this is we're going to change its direction in the middle, so that way it ends up being an interesting symmetrical design. So this is, let's fill in some of the underlying strings. So before we get too caught up in all of this, see how this works. So I'm going to guess that this color here is purple. Well, okay, so you know I like to rant about other people's patterns at times. This one will be no different. The colors, you went green to blue to purple, right? That's rainbow. But then you went to yellow, red to orange. Next to purple would have been red, then orange, then yellow. Why, if you're going to use a rainbow of colors, would you make it in this sequence? It doesn't make sense. I don't get it. There's no logical reason. I just don't get it. It's one of those things there's certain things when you are designing a bracelet, I think would help in making decisions and stuff, because like you've seen me use, I will use the rainbow to represent a fade from lightest to darkest. So I know that if I start off with, say, red as the darkest, I know that the next one is orange, the next one's yellow, the next is green. I can just follow through in the sequence. It makes sense. Changing up, using all 6 colors, using a rainbow, but not putting them in the sequence of the rainbow, to me doesn't make any sense. I don't understand. Maybe somebody can leave me a comment. Leave me a comment and tell me what you think the artist was thinking, because I am baffled. All right, let's do a few more colors in here. I still am not quite sure how it works over on the edges, so I kind of want to see some of these other colors come through and see what happens there. Because eventually the red will have to make its way back to when we use the red again. Again, this is the problem. The pattern itself is fine. It's an arrowhead of sorts, slightly different, like I said, than my typical one. There's no need to necessarily change up the pattern, but I like to change patterns. I like to see what else we can make out of these things. And you can see if I just kind of stick to this basic thing here, it kind of outlines and lets me see where everything else goes. So we're back to the red again. We've cycled through all of the other colors, so this is red. And we can, I think, to make this come out right, we're going to need to move our line down by 1 row. So let me get to the move tool, and if you hold the shift, you can actually drag your guidelines along, and that way I can bring this all the way to the edge like that. So that's awesome. So now oops, Control Z. Well, let's see if we go this direction, if we can make sense of it. We know that it has to turn there because the green is going this way. We know that it has to change directions there because the purple is going this way. We know it goes underneath the screen. The green is going here. Just curious as to how it's supposed to go. Once we kind of have one in, it will kind of answer the questions for the rest. But like I've said before, when you're trying to design a pattern, interesting. So there it is. That's how the red gets there. Now red just can go straight. This orange goes straight. This yellow goes straight. Some yellow comes in here. Alright. The green ends up in here, the blue ends up in here. So there we have that. Alright, so inside of this red is the orange. And inside of the orange is yellow. So now all we have left to do is to sort out all the underlying strings, which obviously I have not done much of that yet. Again, if we do the easy bits first, what's left will become super obvious. So this is a pattern that once you do it for a while, I suspect you probably don't necessarily need a pattern. But when you first do it, I bet you I would be looking at the pattern an awful lot. It's not one of the ones where I would say that it's very instinctive. So yeah, just it's interesting though. I mean, I'll give it that. It's going to be different from the ones that I usually do. So, and in that sense, I think that's fun. I think that getting me out of my comfort zone and working on patterns that are different from what I usually do, I think that's a good thing. And I think everybody should. I think everybody should try putting their own little twist and change onto a pattern. That's the whole basis of my channel is trying new things, trying bigger things, trying something different. So yeah. Let's do this yellow here. And I can do this purple. Cool. That's relatively easy. By kind of eliminating the rest of the strings, we can usually kind of trace that up. And it basically follows the same thing the other ones were doing. And that'll answer how the blue then travels. And then the green becomes pretty obvious. So yeah, the way the colors actually work at the edges are the part of this that sort of throws me off a bit, because the arrowheads I'm used to doing, they just come off the edge and they're kind of done with. You end up putting aside those strings. This one will take a little bit more for me to remember which way something is supposed to go. Like I said, once you kind of get going with it, I suspect it becomes easier. So there. Follow this orange down. So yes, when you're designing a bracelet like this, or any bracelet for that matter, it is obviously there are parts like right here when you're following the knots in the directions and you can easily see where they are. Those are the easy ones. And there will be some, like some of these underlying strings, that are questionable and more difficult to guess what they're doing. In that case, I say get the easiest stuff knocked out first, and what is left will become self-explanatory, because this stuff can be difficult. It can be a challenge to sort out where the strings are going. In this case, I'm seriously, like, this is a design I'm not accustomed to. And so, yeah, I'm following my own guidelines of trying to see how it works. And there's certain things like how this green or whatever traveled. Like, I'm following what happened before. The yellow came this way, so the green is going to follow a similar path. Once you established a bit of it, it'll sort of make more sense. So that's a thing. But yeah, when you're designing them, like let's say I'd only seen this instead of having this pattern over here. Mind you, I could go over here and study this part and see kind of what they were doing. But what I'm teaching you is the ability to have looked at this as a photograph of a completed bracelet and being able to determine how to actually turn it into a pattern. So let's shrink that down just a little bit. So now that we have the whole top half and all of our strings are in place, we can copy the top half, paste it, use our flip tool, and slide this down and see what we got. Here we go, layer, anchor. And there's our bracelet. And we start off with the red, we end up with the red sort of in the center. Basically all our hot colors right there in the middle, and then the cold colors right around it. I say that's a beauty right there. Yeah, well, thank you for hanging out this long with me. Thank you to my Patreon supporters for helping keep this channel going. Be sure to like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and share these things with your friends. And yeah, I'll be back with more videos as quick as I can make them. All right, you guys take care and don't get your strings in a bunch.